All right. Thanks everybody for coming out today. I hope you guys enjoyed the holidays, the time off. Um, we're going to jump back into our monthly data meeting. Today we're going to talk about a few things. We're going to talk about some program types and stuff at this partner portal, um, just so that our partners have had a few questions, and we just wanted to make sure that you guys are understanding as well. Then we want to kind of show what the student portal has, as we did launch that a couple of weeks ago, and we've had some questions about how to use it, and as well as what's on the student side. Some programs have been able to see what the student side actually has. Others have just kind of been um, uh, unknown about what's inside of it. So we're going to kind of go through all of that today. So to talk about data maintenance, kind of are the monthly reminder of, have you entered your data? What does your data look like? Um, so that's the first question: is have you logged in to enter UASIS data? Again, remember, we want that on a timely manner, which answers our second question. We want that every 2 weeks. Um, if you have any questions, please let us know, but the standard is every 2 weeks or more often if you can get it inside. Have you set EFLs for your students? Those EFLs are primarily set with a pretest, but if you need to set it for virtual students, or not, excuse me, not virtual, but provisional, then please go ahead and do that. Again, we want to make sure we're reporting all of our students that need to be reported. And then the big one that we're hitting on this year that's actually looking really good as we do have conversations with programs is, how's your post-exit surveys going? Um, we have a few upgrades that we're looking at doing in the upcoming months for the post-exit surveys to kind of help with a few different things. But we are looking really good with these phone calls that you guys are making. And different things like that. So continue to do those with your post-exit surveys. If you have questions or things like that, please let us know. We're happy to help you with all that. So let's go ahead and talk program types. Many programs run at least one of these, or have had students that are one of these, and so we just want to kind of review exactly what they are, why you would or would not be entering students for that, and then exactly where to do that inside of UASIS, as well as what reports can you run so that you can see which students are being marked. So these are our 6 program types. There are IET, IELCEs, family literacies, K-12 dual enrolled students, out-of-state, and workplace literacy. Now, IETs, IELCEs, family literacies, and workplace literacies, those are going to be primarily for our federally funded programs. The bottom 3 for sure that I mentioned. IETs can be for really any student as long as you have an IET program within your program. If you have questions specifically about, do you qualify for an IET or not, let's have a conversation outside of this meeting. We can pull Danielle or Jeff into that conversation and actually discuss that. Um, K-12 dual enrolled students are students that are still in the K-12 system but using adult education to either supplement some of their credits, or they are still enrolled in or is still enrolled in K-12. Um, and then, of course, out of state. Out of state's a little bit more, because there's a tuition that needs to be charged for those students and different things like that. Our border state, or our border programs, so up in like Logan and Vernal and Daggett, and Kane, not Iron, Washington. You guys may have out of state students that are right on that border. They don't qualify as out of state students, as you guys are the closest ones that they would be coming to, rather than another adult education program with them. But we want to make sure that we are collecting this data, as we do report this data both federally, as well as it does help us with our state funding purposes as well. So we do want to make sure that we are collecting that information. I did see a message come in. Oh, perfect. We got it answered. Thank you. So where do we enter these program types for our students? These are entered on an individual basis. Um,
Um,
So if you go ahead and
what
click
we
on
should do
enroll
is
in
we
programs,
just
that
uh,
middle section are program types. So we want to make sure that that's where we are going ahead and entering those program types. To enter them is pretty simple. You go ahead and click on the ones that you want, add a begin date for that, and go ahead and hit save down at the bottom. You can enter more than one at a time. When you do enter them, they do kind of look like this left picture that is now on the screen. So you'll see check marks along with a begin date that they started. If there's an end date, well, when you need to end a student's program, you'll end an end date and hit save down at the bottom. But that's where you'll kind of see that. There are a couple different
I don't
places that
think
you would
so.
see
Is
that
she
once
going
they
home?
do have active um, program types. So on the student's homepage, on that far right-hand side, you will see program types, and it will list what types of programs they actually are. So in this case, the student's enrolled in an integrated education and training, so IET, and an integrated English literature, which is IELCE. That lets you know what they're enrolled in rather than needing to always go to their page. Recently, we kind of changed the way some of our other program types are also displayed down in the bottom tabs. We've created a brand new tab. It was beginning of this year called Other Program Types, and it lists all the program types that the student has been both currently and historically. It also tells you which programs they were enrolled in. So that in this case, these were Davis students that were enrolled, or it was through the Davis program, I should say. And so they are going to go ahead and um, go with that. One thing about these program types are if they have a blue background, that means they are active. You'll see that it also says that they are current. And if you need to know who last entered that information, the exclamation and little person will help you identify exactly who did that if there are any questions. But that's the biggest way to do the program types for the students. It's pretty simple, pretty easy. If you do have certain program types built into some of your classes, they will be there as well. So that it's kind of a last ditch catch all. So if you have an IET class that is all students that are attending that is going to be IET, you can build it as part of the class. That way, if there are students that you don't manually enter as an IET student, the system will catch that after the fact when you do enroll them into this class. So that's kind of our program types. Let's talk about some institutional programs, as these are similar types markers that we would put for our students. And we have three institutional program types. These are all correctional type ones. So we have correctional facilities, community correctional, and other institutional programs. These are highly important to make sure that we get them in and accurate, as we do report these federal wise. And so we want to make sure that we have accurate numbers for all those. These, again, you can also do based on a location, and we'll show you exactly how to do that in just a second. Adding an institutional program to the students is pretty easy. You'll click on the status and barriers, and below all of those 13 questions, you'll end up seeing its institutional programs. You'll click the checkbox on which one that they are, hit save down at the bottom, and that enrolls them. When they're finished with that program, or they're no longer in corrections, whatever the situation happens to be, you'll come back to the same page, uncheck it, hit save down at the bottom, and that removes them from being that institutional program. Nikki, you have a question.
I do. So I got an email from Danielle just asking me to kind of clean up the hospital.
Huh?
And I'm not exactly so the students at the hospital, fill out their form. So if I guess I'm just not positive how to get correct information, because part of the hospital is correctional. I guess, how do I know what is the correct?
Um, let's have a conversation outside of this, as this may be
Okay.
a deeper
Okay.
conversation
Sure.
specific to the location. Again, since you've mentioned that it's kind of a half part way, some correctional, some not, it might be something that you or your staff will have to know exactly what that is. And that does go for the rest of the state as well. If there are ones that you do find, um, whether they're halfway houses for other institutional settings or they're in community programs or things like that, I believe Davis has the Red House, which is another institutional setting. You may have to, the student may not be self reporting those because they're not in jail and they're not 100% certain what the definition is. So, as program managers, we may need to know where they're coming from, whether that's a specific section of, in your case, the prison, or not the prison, the state hospital. For others, it may be that this is, a halfway house, and you'll need to make sure that those are marked correctly. So there is going to be some training on the staff side to make sure that that is entered correctly, because again, we do rely on the students doing it. But some of these we'll just need to make sure that we know where the student is, and we'll go from there. That's a good point to bring up, Nikki. If you do have questions about like what qualifies within your program, please give us a call. Danny and Jeff are really good about answering those questions. Alicia can help us as well. Um, but if we do find that we need to clean up some of the data, we don't want to just simply unenroll them because that will still show a record. If we need to completely get rid of the record, and that's whether institutional programs or the other program types, the IETs, the ILCEs, we are going to want an email to the webmaster with the list of students that we need to completely remove those records from. That way we have clean data when we do report it both to state and federal. So if you do have questions, please reach out. We can definitely help you get all of the data structured in the way that it needs to be. So let's talk about setting up classes and locations. So for the correctional programs or the institutional programs, you are going to set that up as on part of your location. So the location would be set up, and then every class underneath that, students would be marked appropriately. So in this case, the location, it's the bottom picture that I'm looking at, is this is an incarcerated location. Any class that is set up and a students enrolled into the class will automatically be marked as incarcerated. I mentioned about the IET, IELCE, family literacy, and workplace literacy. You can set those up for classes. That's what the top picture shows. If the whole class, and again, remember, it's got to be the whole class is one of these because it will mark every student that you enroll in there as this if they don't already have it as part of their profile. So that's where you can set up both the classes and the locations. Reporting wise, for program types, you can find them on a couple of different reports. The GOAT report has all of it collectively for each student. You know, are they an IELCE student? Are they an IET student? That kind of stuff. The federal tables, table 6, 8, 9, and 11, those break down more individuals about what they are. So table 6, for example, will talk institutional programs, IETs, and that kind of stuff. 8 talks specifically about IELCE. 11 is IET. So it breaks down that population within your program more and lets you see exactly what that population is doing and how they're doing with MSGs and that type of stuff, as well as table that's kind of post-exit information as well. Institutional programs are only found on table 6. Those are your community correctionals, your incarcerated students, and that kind of stuff. Again, found on institutional. Any questions on the program types before we go ahead and move on?
Oh, I guess I clicked it from the right nick of time.
Also, guess what? I want to level. That's what I.
Okay. All right, let's go ahead and move on. We're students working with partners. It's been a great relief off of many of the adult ed programs that work very closely with some of our partners, as you no longer have to pass information back and forth, and our partners can simply log in and find those students. There is the only caveat is that we have to make sure that we are appropriately marking the student or marking the partners that the students are working with. We have seen in a handful of our situations that some students are being marked as working with one partner and they may not actually be, whether it's you looked at the wrong form or whatnot. That is something you'll want to just double check. Make sure there is a partner agencies report that I would highly suggest that you look at. Make sure that the students in there are working with the partners. Again, because if a partner has access to the students, they have access to pretty much everything. Again, they don't have edit access, they only have view only access, but we do want to make sure they are only viewing the students that they are working with. Again, this is found on the barriers page. If you click on that, towards the very bottom of that page is the partner agencies. Simply click the checkbox that and then hit save down at the bottom. That will then give that partner access to the profile or to the student's profile. One caveat with that is we do need to have a data sharing agreement with the student. The student needs to sign that says that, yes, I allow my data to be shared in order for them to have access. While you may mark that the student is working with DWS, if they said, no, I don't want my information to be shared, the partner will still not have access to that. So if they do want that access, they will have to sign a new agreement that says, yes, I agree that I allow my data to be shared with outside agencies. Otherwise, they kind of have to be the carrier pigeon between it and kind of carry that information back and forth. Questions about working with our students working with our partners? All right, brand new, just got released about a week and a half ago is the new student portal. Um, this allows our students to access their youth ACES data inside of the system, lets them pull their information, and we'll go through all the information that they have. Big thing right now is that the students do not have any sort of edit access. That may come down the line about editing demographics and things like that, signing up for classes. But as of right now, everything inside of the student portal is a view only access, and we'll go through everything that the student does have. Now, how do you get students set up? That is where you will have to come in. We are not setting any sort of password by default for students, as every program is going to run the student portal a little differently. Some may only want diploma students to have it, as that it is primary, or that there's a large chunk of transcript information in there. Some may want those that are not an ESL to do it, but everybody else. Again, we're not going to tell you one way or the other how exactly you should be using it, but we are going to show you how you can have your students access the student portal. When a student's profile is created, a username is automatically generated. It comes from the first name of the student, followed by the student's student ID number, or the UASIS ID number. So in this case here, you'll see that the username is Alex47431. That cannot be changed. If you misspell their first name when you resave their first name, it will update their username so that it is correct. However, you can't remove those numbers. You can't add any sort of special characters, anything like that. These usernames are very specific to our students. However, this page, this tab specifically, the student portal, is found on the home page for a student. You'll see that it is the 5th tab over. It's called Student Portal. And for many of the students, when they first get a brand new account, there will be that little exclamation point saying that, hey, there's something not necessarily wrong, but hey, there's a notice. Please go ahead and look at this. You'll see in this case that the student doesn't have a password. It says big right up there. There's no password that has been set, so the student can't even attempt to log in. And the other big thing is that big red section down at the bottom that says the student's password will not be emailed to them. There's a couple of reasons that an email would not be sent to them. The big reason is potentially that the student just doesn't have an email inside of the system. So you'd go to the demographics, you'd have to update the email. The other big reason that those students would, or the other reason students would not have it emailed to them, is that they've opted out of emails from the system. We have realized just recently that there is a small bug in the system in which you may see both the students will and will not be emailed. There will be two statements for you. If there is that red one that it will not be emailed, that is the priority. I have to remove a flag that is being accidentally looked at when that happens. But if you want the students to have get an email from the system about what their password is, different, and any other communication that you do send, please have them update their information and allow that information to be sent to you, or to be sent to them, I mean. So go ahead and go to the demographics page, update that if they need it. If their page looks like this, to where it's the student's password will be emailed to them, there are two ways that you can do this. The first way is this top picture. It will be emailed to them. The system will automatically generate an email, so you don't know what it is. You simply hit reset password. That sends an email to the student's email address. Will show you what that email actually looks like, and then the student can log in. Usernames have to be given to the student. We don't currently have a way to email them. We are looking about adding that functionality into the system, but as of right now, there's not. Even if a student can have an email or have a password emailed to them, you still have the capability of typing a password in. So if a student is standing in your office, even though they have an email, there's this toggle switch. You can hit the toggle and a new password field will show up. You can type that password about exactly what it is, and make up kind of whatever you want and hit reset password, give that to the student, and then off they go. On their first successful login, a student will need to reset their password to something new. So that is a security precaution we have built inside of the system. There's no way around that. When you have an email sent to, or when you have a password sent to a student, this is what the screen will look like. You'll notice that the notification up on the top has been removed. There's no red pass or no red notification at the top letting them know. And you'll see this new orange section that says must change password. Just lets you know that a temporary password has been set in for the student and they'll have to change it on their first successful. Now, the email I was mentioning about looks like this. It simply addresses the student by name, lets them know that an email or that their password has been requested. This is what the system generated email or passwords look like. It's 3 random words out of a bank of about 10,000, and it simply pulls 3 of them together and it sends them for that. The UASIS website down at the bottom is a link directly to the student portal page, so they don't have to click on the student registry or the student portal down at the bottom. This takes them directly to that. And then, of course, it addresses whichever staff member ended up sending that to them in case there are questions of I didn't request my password or whatever that situation happens to be. But the student will take this password and then they will click on that website down below, and then they'll be taken to the student portal, which is the left side. If they are on, just type in uasis.schools.utah.gov, it will take them to our login page, the staff login page. If they just click staff student portal on the bottom, it will take them to that student portal page. Very similarly, how the student registration is working now, except now there's login information. When a student first successfully logs in, this is identical to the way yours ends up looking at the staff side. They'll need a brand new password. They need to follow all of the instructions. So 8 characters, 1 upper, 1 lowercase number, and a special character. So you'll go ahead and enter or they will enter that password. They'll hit change password. Once they're in, on our side, on the UASIS side, it will look like this. We will see their last successful login. We'll see a date and time that they've last successfully logged in. And the orange has gone away, that they must change their password. This lets you know the student has at least logged in, has a good password, and is ready to go. If they start to mistype their passwords, again, they've got 5 attempts like our accounts do. Once they hit that 5th attempt, their account is locked for 15 minutes. And all that information will show you on the student portal. You can see, how many missed attempts they've had. You can see if their system is or if their account is locked, when it's locked and when it unlocks for them. You can just reset the password if something like that happens, and it kind of zeroes everything out for you. So on the UASIS side, that's kind of the whole how to get a student up and running. Again, there is no automatic password that gets automatically sent to the student. You at the program level have to decide, this is a student I want to have portal access. Are there any requirements for the type of temporary passwords? No. There is no restrictions that you have to have 8 characters. You have to have an upper and a lowercase and a special character. I would make it secure. So I probably would follow just some standard that you have, but there is no like checklist standard that you have to have when typing a password in for a student. Now, the big question, what does the student portal look like? For those that have kind of peered over a student's shoulder, you've kind of seen what this looks like. For everybody else, this is what the student dashboard looks like. So they log in, very similar. Again, you'll notice a few color schema changes. We did that intentionally so that staff members could see whether a student was on a staff or a student log in. But this is what it looks like. Red side, blue banner across the top. And the dashboard really doesn't do much except just welcome to UASIS. Eventually, we're going to open it up to where programs can send notifications out about like upcoming activities, graduations, testing dates, registration dates, that kind of stuff. You'll be able to put up on there. That will probably be coming in the next 6 months or so, probably during our summer months when we have a little bit more time. But a student will click on the info page or the info tab, and a new page will pop up and some tabs across the top. The first one is their demographics. Again, view only, but they can see everything inside that is in the system. So what their names are, birth dates, address, phone number, their education information, their questions to their status and barriers, whether or not they have signed a release waiver or whatnot. All of that information is there and accessible for them to view. Eventually, we'll allow them to answer those questions or update the information. But as of right now, view only. The second tab is their enrollment page. So it lets them know which programs they have rolled in. Um, and so a couple color pieces on this enrollment. If it's blue, again, it means that they're active. But if the student starts getting close to that 90 days, you will see that I should say the student will see it change to a yellow. And then once they are over 90 days, meaning that they'll have to potentially come in and get a new pretest and things like that, it'll turn red. Other program types, so IETs, IELCEs, like we were talking about at the very beginning, those will show down at the bottom. Lets them know which program they're enrolled in, different things like that. The third tab is the class information. Any active classes that the student is currently enrolled in will show up at the very top. It will give them what the name of the class is. Again, we talked about naming um, for the classes. Again, don't lob everything into the name, like where it is, the dates, the teachers. All of that information is here for the student to see. You can see the dates that they're enrolled in, the class dates. So when the date or when the class begins and ends, they can see the total hours that they have, the teachers that they're in. If there are room numbers for the classes and building things, that information is also shared here, as well as the schedule on which the student or which the class is taught. In this case, you see that this diploma class is taught Monday through Friday from 8 to 2, which means it's probably an open-ended class for them to come into, get questions answered, do some work, that kind of stuff. Again, you don't need to have all that information in up at the very top. Keep those simple, keep them concise about exactly what it is, whether it's term 2, term 3, what the name of the class is, and that's about all the information you may need to have in the title. Down at the bottom is an expandable section in this classes that'll give the student their attendance history. It will give them dates that they're in there, the class that it was done, how many hours, what type of contact type, all that information is in there. As of right now, they can't download that, but we are looking about expanding and allowing a PDF download of their attendance history, but it's not there yet. The fourth tab is all of their tests. So what are their most recent tests? How long has it been since they've last tested? Again, if you have students that know that they can test every 40 or 50, 60 hours, whatever your program's recommendations are, they can see exactly where they are. They can see the date that they last attended. Again, on the bottom is their entire test history, so they can see their scale score, their functioning level, all of that information they can see in their test history. For those students that are transcripted students working towards diplomas, they now have access to see exactly where they are, what areas they're still missing, that information. So the fifth and final tab is their transcript information. We've made it a little bit more friendly for some students, and all of this is mobile friendly. We've made sure that all of these pages are good on the mobile. They load very, very well, and they're all really, really easy to read. So transcript page is no different. It's all mobile friendly. So in this case, we can see that the student is 75% completed with their language arts. They still need a quarter of a credit. They still need a quarter credit of language arts 10 as well. Once a student has completed a whole area, that entire background will turn blue. Sub areas, if they have sub areas, they will kind of fill up like a thermometer or a thermos. Kind of shows you exactly how full they are. You'll see the two buttons up at the top, the workup and the unofficial transcript. The workup is identical to ours. I had to revamp this page for this purpose, but it also affected ours. So again, they have access to this, seeing exactly which classes count for where. Do they still need any? How much do they need? Are they completed? Again, we put some little emojis in there for easy legibility. Whether they've passed the civics test or not up at the very top, they can export this into a PDF version if they want. Again, this page is identical to what you see on your side, but the students now have access to it as well. The unofficial transcript, again, is identical to our unofficial transcript. So if a student needs an unofficial transcript for a job purpose, something, maybe insurance, whatever the situation happens to be, they can actually see that on their unofficial transcript. So that is everything that the student currently has access to. I have noticed that some students are logging in. I'm glad to see that. I hope that this will get you kind of to where you don't have many questions. If you do still continue to have questions about any of that, please let us know. We're happy to do individual trainings, kind of help your program or help your users get the students set up to that. That's all I've got today. Are there any quick questions before we go ahead and log off? Okay, thank you very much. We will hold our next one in February, and we will get this posted on YouTube in the next day or so. Thanks, guys.